let's talk about drawing people in perspective. So I will put everything in this one video. Так. Okay, so let's talk about most obvious kind of on the surface what everybody have in mind when they think about drawing people in perspective. It's 1 point, 2 point perspective. Так, let's say let's make here like one vanishing point, two vanishing point. Так. So we have horizon line, the vanishing point, y-axis for vertical, and x for horizontal. So figure, right, like human figure, have these symmetrical points, because you know, human body is it's like two sides. So we have like shoulder on the left, nipple, this pelvis, point on the pelvis, then this bone here also protruding, then knee, calf, and feet, right? So all this, like also let's say elbow and wrist, right? Like every this can be like used as constructive points. Even like the rib cage, this kind of this have a rib, forgets like 10 rib I forget number, but there is like a rib, which maybe I'll show you another second. Yeah, it's kind of here, it's like each edge of rib cage, so sometimes can see. So this point over pelvis, then rib, nipple, kind of also constructive point, and stuff like this, right? So we have them like repeating on both sides. So basically it's creating this straight line, right? So this straight line by default is kind of like associated with x-axis, with width, right? So vertical, this like center axis of a body, it's a y-axis, vertical line. This is y, and this is x. So symmetry, all these like symmetrical points, they are on a line in x-axis. So when we draw in perspective, we can, like what usually everybody do is to place these symmetrical points. So it's like shoulders, points on the rib cage, pelvis, this bone, knees, right? So knee go, all of them kind of go into vanishing. Here is Z. So if I draw bodies this way, so it will be on X. I'm drawing standing this way, so it's on the lines on a Z. So let's say here, two body. Hello, Lanceolus. So then if like we have 2-point perspective, so X and Z will have vanishing points, Y will be just vertical lines. So we have this perspective grid. So in this case, same, you see, like we can take these points going to z-axis or going again to x-axis. So let's see. Okay. So you see, kind of like I will go like slowly grow in complexity kind of principles. So here idea, like most basic, most essential idea, it's symmetry of a body and kind of like no, you see, it's like a flat, right? So body itself, first of all, is kind of like two-dimensional, right? Because we consider these points, they all kind of like a line on the same surface. So it's like we're just drawing one two-dimensional plane in perspective, right? So and then you can kind of like build volumetric forms, volumetric shapes in it. So, and here kind of already can talk about this, like in which way you draw people, right? So it's like can be this question like, how should I draw? Should I draw like bones, boxes, shapes, or cylinders, or it's kind of like a pillow, kind of all these questions, or like, you know, always like in the beginning you kind of looking for proper way maybe, or a best way to draw people. So, but I would say all this different way, like whatever you choose, like from a Loomis, from Kim Jong-gi, or from any way, main idea, it's kind of like underlying structure before you do final rendering. Okay, so basically I think it's like just make sense to unify it just in this category. So basically it's just you're looking for any underlying structure which help you to make final rendering. That's it. And it's like, and this final rendering like depends on the form of art you create. So if it's like comic book or manga, let's say, so there's like line art in the end, right? So you want this like clean line art. So before you make this clean line art, to draw like folds on the clothing or wrinkles in the skin, or this kind of like overlapping textures, you want to make sure you understand how form goes, right? Where is some kind of like key elements, proportions, and this kind of stuff. So underlying structure is just what you might have in your mind when you draw. So you can like directly make final lines on the paper without any preliminary sketch. So it means you have all underlying structure like proportions, anatomy, form in your head. Kind of you are projecting it, and kind of like you drawing over it without drawing it directly on a paper. So or you can make marks with it. But yeah, let's just reinforce this idea, right? So underline structure and final rendering, and this underlying structure is something also like kind of like a body under closing. So because it's kind of like we can see how the structure influence form of clothing on a human body, kind of, right? But it's invisible, is not directly visible, right? So let's say like this, some kind of like clothes, let's say some rope, right? So there is anatomy, there is proportions beneath clothing, and technically you can draw immediately, you can start to draw clothing without drawing this whole body kind of underneath, but it might be useful for you to draw it. So, and then we can look like which ways it can be, which kind of structure. Let's make here a bunch of 1 point perspective, for example. So it can be like a stick figure. Because this structure is what you draw in perspective. Let's say stick. Let's take same here. It can be shapes, right? So no, maybe like this, which they all of them will have these symmetrical points. Because still, like, you know, like shoulders, knees, feet, right? They all have these symmetrical points, but kind of you make it as shapes, right? Then let's see another vanishing point here. So let's say boxes. Boxes. Or cylinders. So is I consider it's like there is no one way which is like best or better than other, or which one is like preferable. It's subjective. It can be, I don't know, depends on your current mood. Just try them all. Так, cylinders, right? Tubes. And maybe like some kind of like a skeleton. Maybe we can find some more ways. What kind of, yeah, maybe like some kind of like a doll. Select this scale. Then also kind of there is some approaches, like some tutorials when they teach about like how to combine this. So let's say is like you draw like first you start with a stick figure. And then you draw kind of cylinders over it. So kind of you see stick figure is more kind of simple, so it helps you to see direction for cylinders. And cylinders help you to understand kind of general direction of a form. So you know, it's like if we take kind of this pen, so it's like parallel to camera, it's facing this way or it's facing this way. It's go in this direction or this direction. So cylinder give you this general idea. But then if you draw it as a box, so you can now transform cylinder into box. Box give you more clear understanding of sides. Now you have better idea like where is like a front side, left side, right side. So it's just like more nuance, more kind of specific so it's like head can look like this, so we see top, right and front. Or you can make it this way, so we will see only front and top. You know, later we'll cover it more in details. So I think this approach, I think it's like Ron Lemon, probably Ron Lemon like talk about this, because he shows this approach when you make gesture, cylinders, then boxes, and the boxes help you to draw muscles, because you know, for muscle you now understand where is like front side of arm, side, and like left side or back side of arm, so you can kind of like place muscle more properly. You have better understanding kind of. So and you also see it's kind of like preferable, and also I recommend, I think, because it's also fun just to try every technique, you know, so try them all, explore, just see which technique you like more, which approach better work for you, help you better understand like how to draw figure. Or you can like when you know exactly like which type of art you're creating, you know, not being just like, oh, I just want to be good artist, right? Better if you know exactly like you draw in like American style comic books, or you draw in manga like with some specific style, because there is also like different styles. It's kind of like, I don't know, like popular mainstream style or it's like Katsuhiro Otomo style, which I think is a little specific, have like its own specifics. So you can choose a style and you look artists who draw in this style, which approach they use, or they even might teach, right? So you can see like David Finch, for example, right? You can see how he built figure, which approach he used. So instead of like learn and practice like every possible approach, you just do his approach, because it's a direct kind of way, direct path to result you want, right? But for your information, because today video is everything about drawing people in perspective, so I just covering it all. Так, so, and because once you have this stuff, right, you can like I was showing with wrapping clothes over human body, kind of, right? So now it's like final rendering is kind of like you start to wrap in structure with this like final form, which might be like line art, or maybe you paint, right? So you can use brush to draw shapes. So, and it's also interesting, like I say, with clothing, right? You can start from beginning without any structure at all, just draw this kind of line art, and it feels exactly the same. So there is little kind of feeling of like leap of fate, or a jump of fate, you know, from Assassin's Creed or whoever. Because it's, you see certain gap between line and this, right? It seems like kind of, wait a second, it's kind of like you skip certain steps definitely here, right? So yes, you can put more in betweens between final rendering. You can put more in betweens, right? You can like maybe make some sketch of how final rendering will look like, looking for some proportions or whatever. You can keep kind of define what you want, how it will look, clarifying for yourself, right? But anyway, it's always, I think it's important also kind of to understand, to have in mind that at certain point it always feels like this gap, like this fear of making final lines. So, and this is part of experience, this kind of like a skill which you will develop only by doing it, only by kind of jumping into making kind of attempt of making clean final lines, final form for your picture. If you will keep like preparing to make it safe, you will never learn, you know. So whatever you like started from beginning, this is kind of you making this line art kind of like trying to be Kim Jong-gi, or you drawing it over certain structure. You see, it's always kind of gap. It's always kind of like you're feel like you might make mistake right now. Maybe you kind of losing some tiny nuance, and you definitely you definitely lose something. So just learn to be okay with that. Так. Okay, so have this two most basic kind of like thing people try to do, right, when you draw people in perspective. Maybe let's also make 3-point perspective here. Still have space. Так. Let's say, so this will be Y vanishing point. Here, X and Z. So let's say like this, right? So also like, yeah, maybe to make it clear, it's like now we have this flat structure for body points, right? This flat structure being convergent in all 3 directions. So no, actually in 2 directions, right? Because it's flat, because it's 2-dimensional. So we see how like shoulder going here, rib points on the rib cage going there, knees, and this, right? But also they kind of like convergent towards a Y vanishing point. So in this case, it's Y vanishing point is on the ground. But if we draw like, yeah, let's show. So basically this is what happened, right? Yeah, hello Grindel, thank you. So let's say on this flat kind of surface we have shoulders, ribs, this, knees, feet, right? So let's make it like like this, okay? So when we see it in a 2-point or 1-point perspective, it goes this way. Because but now we have like here in the 2-point, right? So it's like conversion downwards and conversion here to side. Here is conversion upwards and conversion to side, like this. So in this case we have these two symmetrical points, not only like aligned with the horizontal lines, but also they're like should be aligned with conversion of vertical lines. Which also interesting subject here, it's how to manage these proportions, you know, how to make them correct. We'll explain it in a moment. Так, let's see. So you see, and the kind of problem here is that we can see convergence of parallel lines, right? But these points, they symmetrical, they're not parallel to each other. I mean, like, they're not on the same line vertically, you see? So this point here, this point little to the right, same this two more to the left, this more to the right. So technically you can measure every of this point. You can be like precise, like Scott Robertson when you drawing vehicles, you know. Remember there was this technique how to mirror points. So we can be like as precise as if we are drawing vehicle in perspective. And the problem here is that it's became impractical, and I don't see anyone doing it. Like if somebody doing it, like kind of measure symmetry, measure like exact proportion for this constructive point of human body, I don't know, show me this guy, like never never see this. You can do it only maybe for experiment, for exploration. Maybe it will help you in beginning to understand. But just have it in mind, right? We have very precise, very solid approach of mapping points in the space from Scott Robertson book. If you spend like 30 minutes of your attention, make like little effort, you will understand how it works, right? So is this kind of like example of a situation when you need to be like, you know, make some mental effort, not always like, you know, it's like there is like two type of, let's consider two type of workers. Let's say you hire people to fix your house, right? And one type will work even if you don't look at them. And second type of worker, they will just stand in or sit in, or I don't know, sleep in, unless you tell them what to do, so like zero initiative. So so often we are ourselves like this. We're behaving like this for ourselves, right? So don't be like this. Don't look for some like people to tell you how you should do things. Try to figure out by yourself. Like if you have some problem, you have some issue, or you have some goal, right now you have like every information you need, basically, like you can find every information. This is how I do, like often I don't find like direct answers to my questions, but I have all materials which I can like put together and I find answer myself. So in this case, right, like what we see here is like this Scott Robertson thing about dots, right? So we have dot here, and you say, oh, how transfer this dot to other side? You say like, oh, you make like this, and then you say maybe it goes this way, right? So I have middle point here, I have point here, I'll draw this line, then I transfer this point to other side. How to repeat this in perspective, right? And like in a 3-point perspective. Same as like you have now this kind of surface. Now you have this middle point, so like, oh, so this point here. Now from this point you connect to this point, now this point here. So right, so technically you can do this way, it will be like most precise, most correct. And this is how we also measure proportions, right? So let's say most standard proportions is when you divide body in 8 heads, right, like in 8 parts. So here is like kind of this. So same, you have structure with all these points, and you can put the structure with points in perspective. So here is like head. So, but you see kind of like problem with this. It's kind of like a buzz kill, or I don't know, joy kill. It's became like too overly technical. It became like kind of like draftsmanship instead of actually kind of drawing as artist. So what I see what most artists do is just with these proportions like I did here, right? You just eyeballing this, and you making mistakes, and you see it's like, oh, here maybe legs was too long, right? Maybe you make like some 3D reference to double check proportions. So instead of measure it, you try to develop intuition, and when you see some mistakes, you need to explain to yourself why this mistake happened. So like find like where you did error. Maybe it's like lower leg is too long, so you should like little adjust proportions next time. And this is how like we are artist works, right? So you just like being honest with yourself. Like if you feel it's something odd, right, like you try to fix it, and next time you make it better, next time you make it better, and like this eventually you start to like create like pretty kind of convincing, like very realistic proportions in this kind of like angles, like which can be like very extreme. Let's say like this kind of like James Bond. Try to put this thing in perspective. I mean, it's like which points exactly you will put here, right? And no, later in the end I will like explain this type of perspective, like how I can draw it, but just here is a quick example. This like difference between a fist and like his face here, how you measure change of proportions here? Only by eyeballing it. You can use like be like little more like try to create some kind of like scaffolding in the space here between, but anyway all this will be eyeballing. So okay, keep this in mind, and now let's so 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, we have 5 points, right? So 5-point perspective, just quick reminder, it means we have in the center we have Z vanishing point, then we have horizon line going this through center, horizon line, Y axis going through center through Z vanishing point. On this y-axis we have on the top y vanishing point zenith, on the bottom we have y vanishing point nadir. They're equally on equal distance from center, right? But you can break this rule sometimes, no big deal. By default, properly kind of it should be equal. Same with the same distance, let's say like 1, same like same length, like we have y vanishing point from Z above and below, same we have same distance to the right and to the left. It will be like right x and left x vanishing point. And then they behave this way, like y-axis going as straight line through z-axis or z vanishing point, and it's being like 90° to horizon line. X-axis when it goes through z vanishing point is also straight line, and it's 90° to y-axis. But then we start to have this kind of curvature, right? So this straight line start to transition from straight to half circle. So here is like in the end point is kind of half circle when it's going through y vanishing point. So same happen up and same happen down, like half circle here, and transition from straight to half circle. We see this kind of transition of curvature. Same with y is transition from straight to half circle when it goes through x vanishing point. Same straight and half circle when goes through x vanishing point. So transition, you know, you can build very easy with breaking it in half. So we have this like a middle, right? So from here to here draw middle. Again, separate in half, again separate in half, and you keep subdividing and you create transition. So this kind of grid. So then x-axis, when it go further, it will make this curve above and below, and same, no, make it more symmetrical, same with y-axis. This already is like a 6-point perspective grid. When it start to go like beyond vanishing points, and I have like video about 6 points, better don't talk this much about. So then what happened is your picture can be kind of like, you know, including these points, like your picture frame, or you can draw it like within grid like this. I forget to show z-axis. Right, so, and like I understand, very cool. It's very simple, but it's kind of again take some effort to understand. Like I show you this sequence of building perspective grid, kind of like from inside out, right? And now you can also draw it in another sequence. Not start from points and axis, but start from center and from a frame. So we making, let's say, I choose like what type of frame I have, like horizontal or vertical, and then I say horizon line may be tilted this way or tilted this way. So if horizon line tilted this way, so it means y-axis will be perpendicular, so it will be like perpendicularly tilted. And so, and now I choose like where will be center, right? Maybe center is here. So this will be y-axis, this my z-vanishing point. So z-vanishing point means these lines go in this way. Same here, maybe like this. So z-vanishing point, whoop, whoop. And now it's like my maybe x, yeah, I have x vanishing point here, but I don't have y vanishing points. They are outside of frame. But I can kind of like project where they can be. I can draw this structure of a grid without drawing full structure, without drawing full construction, you know, because I remember like how curvature goes, so I can recreate it partially. Okay, so let's say y-axis here will go like this, x-axis go like this. Same here, like I don't have y vanishing points, I don't have x vanishing points, but I remember construction, I remember structure. So, and x. Okay, so it's kind of like principle. And let's say it can be like some kind of like analog of a 3-point perspective in a 5-point setting. So we have this z vanishing point, horizon line, y-axis, and y vanishing point, zenith, right? So this curvature of x going through y vanishing point, then y vanishing point, y-axis going this way, z-axis going this way. So it look like complicated, but it's just this structure. It's just bunch of curved line. So yeah, and x, right? So we remember this curve, this straight. Now you make in between, and again in between, and between. Same here, we have straight, and we have this kind of, we just kind of mirror it to other side. That's it. So same here, we can make this like, let's say, shoulder line, pelvis, knee, and feet. Here, elbows. Like this, right? Or we can make shoulder line align with the x axis. So same here. So see, kind of just like placing this symmetrical points. Just for simplicity, making it stick figure kind of. Так, and maybe this hand, kind of this arm going in perspective, some kind of gun. Так. Maybe here is a like in Nausicaa from Miyazaki was this flying giant. You know, so it's like shooting lasers. It's like vroom, vroom, explosions here. have some city, maybe already somewhere smoke. And this maybe standing on a roof. And there maybe like giant dude. So same, you see, it's like we're using this construction from all this previous example, and any moment you can wrap it with a final rendering. So this kind of like general pipeline is like this. So you can right away draw final rendering over this structure, or you can make some more lines, more preliminary sketch to kind of clarify certain details. So in here now you see we start talking about kind of like a dimensions of a people, right? So we have this small guy and we have this giant here. How we showing proportions in a space, right? So there is simple kind of approach, simple principle called ratio, using ratio. So it means let's say we have horizon line, and I make like just a random dot on the ground. So I say it's ground, okay? Just randomly I state it right now, ground, okay? So now we know where is ground, but kind of like, wait a second, so how can I draw it? Okay, to draw this ground in other places, right? So how do I know where's this ground here? Actually, anywhere. And all we need is just to see kind of change in scale of this distance. So we have this distance between horizon line and the ground, right? So once I have point, right now I establish scale. Now I can give it like exact number. So what is this distance? Because it can be like 1 centimeter or 1 meter or 1 kilometer, right? So if it's like 1 meter, okay, then it's kind of height of some kind of like pelvis level on a human body, right? On an adult human. So if it's like 1 kilometer, so it's like horizon line means eye level or camera height, right, will be like very high above the ground, so we can see kind of down shot, we can see some buildings below and stuff, right? So all this is totally kind of like random, like not random, but you define it. You define it. It's not exist anywhere, right? So right now you define how high, how long this distance between ground and camera height. So yeah, let's say 1 meter, right? So now I make point here. Okay, so what happened? If this is a ground, right, ground, we already remember that between ground and eye level, so this distance, it's also 1 meter, because it's the same ground, right? But why is bigger? Yeah, because this point is closer to viewer. Okay, so a ratio means is now when, in this case, so let's say like this, right? I put like this point anywhere. So I have this 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter. Ratio will be is if I make same length above horizon line. What happened? What I just did? I create 2 meter high, right? So because this is 1 meter from ground to eye level, and when we have same distance, repeat one more time, we create 2 meter height. So it's like 1, 2 length above ground. So if I make like one more time, now it's 3 meter, right? So now here we have 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 3, and don't cry in the comments like, oh, what's this? This is like mathematics. It's not mathematics, it's like basic arithmetics. It's like on a level like how to understand like how many minutes you have to arrive some place you need to go, or like how much change you should to get from cashier, kind of, you know. So, and a ratio here now work in this way that if like at the beginning, like any point, it's 1 meter, right? It means like on the ground, any point on the ground, it will be 1 meter, 1 meter. Now ratio means is if I make a line and I create this, so 2 parts against 1 part in this horizon line, right? So it's like horizon line kind of divides this line into 3 parts. So it's our 3 meter. Okay, so if I have like 1 part and 3 part here, so this is like 4 meter. So this kind of principle, it's I don't know how to say, it's like it's just hard to understand, it's so simple. So you just need to start to using it to understand it really works. So let's say we have, again, it's like most convenient is to divide vertically human body in half, so we can divide it into 4 or 8 if necessary, right? So we have 2 parts, and let's say like 2 meter high, again for convenience. So some basketball player or just tall dude. So center, like if we have this ratios like 1, 2, it will be his pubic area. If we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, so here will be knee, here pubic, here it's called like nipple line, nipple height, and top of the head. Okay, so it's kind of like very easy to remember, it's kind of standard proportions. Now we kind of like in our picture we think about how high camera, eye level or camera level, right? So we can, for convenience, you can choose like height according to this character. So it will be like, because it's convenient for us to calculate. So 1 meter high will be his pubic level. Half meter high will be his knee level. 1.5, it's his chest level, and 2 is his like. And if we keep going with same ratio, like making step of half meter or step of 1 meter, we can also show exactly like how high camera, how higher is the camera above character. So let's make like 3 meter high camera, and let's say так. So it's our horizon line, aka eye level, and it's 3 meter high, so on a height of 3 meter. So then if our guy is standing here, okay, now we're making this vertical line, and we remember he is 2 meter, but we have like 3 meter high, so we divide it in 3, so we get now this scale showing us 3 meter, right? And we know, okay, so this is our guy because he is 2 meter. So, and you can draw him here. So, oh, but it's like, oh, he kind of like so far, right? Okay, no problem. Can draw him closer. What if he's standing here? Burp. Again, we're making this kind of ratio, right? Establishing ratio. Now, okay, so now he is this high here. And then so like still kind of small, right? Like if he stay closer, okay. Now I will blow your mind again with the kind of like simplicity of this thing. Okay, let's do this thing. Here, what I draw here, I draw 1 meter. Okay, so this 1 meter. You remember like half meter, right? It's this kind of scale, right? So his head basically is half of a half meter. Again, that's 1 meter, 1 meter, right? Half meter, half meter. And you see his head is 0.25. It's a quarter of a meter. So, okay, here I say this is 1 meter below eye level. Okay. So this 0.5, this 0.25. Okay, so now here is our dude head. Okay, and then let's say we have other guy who is let's say 325 height, right? So if other guy is 325, same, we kind of like, let's say, make meter here. Op. So this is our 0.25. 25 above here. This. So we have again, they kind of like standing together here. So this our 2 meter guy. This 325 guy, so we can make his head bigger. And here, whoop, whoop. Let's say like this. And then also you can ask, okay, but they're all kind of flat, right? Why they all like flat, like a posters? It's very easy to make them 3-dimensional. It's very easy to kind of like put them in a grid. So let's say can even like tilt. Let's say, yeah, let's even like to convince it's work. Let's make like 5-point perspective, right? So y-axis curved here, x-axis curved. So now this ground, this measure line will align with the y-axis. So this is our horizon line and this one y-axis. So if I make like again like on random place, say okay, here is ground, right? So in our right now we have this 3 meter height of a camera, right? So once I call it ground, I say okay, this is ground, right? So immediately it means that eye level is 3 meter above this point on the ground. And we can create this scale by making vertical line which align with y-axis. Okay, so again, it's like you might be don't find it in any book or tutorial, but it's this kind of obvious thing which you figure out if you try. If you try to figure out it, you know. So now same approach, you kind of subdivide it, and here you can also consider like it might be like upper part is longer, this little shorter, and this little shorter, right? So now you start to consider this like change in proportions. So when you subdivide it in 3 equal parts, you consider an diminishing kind of in the perspective, right? And like I said before, you can make it like kind of try to make like oh, let's measure blah blah blah, or just practice and learn how to make it look convincing, like close enough, right? So we have this scale now, so this scale show us 3 meter, 2 meter, 1 meter. So, and here our dude, and let's say this guy, right? So if I say this is here, like top of his head here, right? So it means this is 0.25 above 3 meter, because he is 3.25, right? So we have, if I draw like top of his head here, so it means from this point to horizon line we have 0.25. Okay, so you see it's kind of like we have how to say, it's kind of like gatekeeping here in perspective is I think is like 100 IQ, right? So it's like if you IQ lower than 100, it's just impossible. Perspective just kind of unfeasible for you. So here kind of we see it because it's basic arithmetic, but it requires this like some kind of like flexibility and like inquiry, like play around with numbers, with a very simple numbers, basically just kind of like 4 numbers, right? So okay, I establish here 0.25. Now 0.25, like a quarter meter below horizon line, below eye level. Okay, so it's immediately going outside of picture. So now we have like half meter, 0.5. So it's pretty close. So let's see, like his head was like, so his head is like this size. So, and I can make like, so if I draw his head like a box, so go like this, let's say, to this vanishing point. Right, then we have neck and shoulder line, chest, like this. Same we repeat like maybe a little farther away. So here 0.25 above horizon line, 0.25. I can draw like a vertical line going through all this. Okay, so this half meter, this meter. So this now we have meter. We create second meter here, and like this. So we have like 1, 2, 3 scale here. So you see you can start from point on the ground or from point like above horizon line. So it's just like, it's really like you need spend some time doing it, like practice it, right? So this is how practice should be. It's when you experiment, explore, try for several times, so you just get accustomed to do it. It's kind of certain operations you never did before. So it's take effort to make it because you never done it. But once you do it like 100 times, you kind of create this neural network in your head. It's like a driving car, right? So this neural network will work by itself. It will be like just automatically like a reacting, you know. And this will be your artistic intuition. You will start to feel proportions. Okay, but this is how you build this intuition, by this kind of, and it feels like kind of like a game on iPhone, you know, like some kind of like mini game where you just like play around. It's like, let's see what will happen if I start other way around, right? If I draw here like 10-meter guy, how it will look like, you know. It's fun. It's fun actually, right? Так. Так, let's see. So here I start again from above, establish 0.25, and then I create from 0.25, I create half meter. Then I take 2.5 meter and I create 1 meter. Now I make 1 meter going down and kind of like diminishing, right? I abolish diminishing, because it's kind of converging like this, right? So it will change kind of 1 meter will go like will be visually get shorter and shorter. So this is kind of like what you track. So, and let's say, so this our guy, this huge guy here, and I want him in perspective, right? So I will draw him like boxes. So once I have this, this just line help me, because now I just like it's like this central line of a body, right? And now I just like drawing these body elements around this central line. I can make it like symmetrical lines for symmetrical, no, these lines go for symmetrical points, like a knee, elbow, you know. Make it like a boxes. Or cylinders. So for a ratio, for proportions, enough just a line. Okay, and with this line you can build over kind of all this. So let's see. And then draw like super muscle here. Так. And okay, we all this time we've been drawing this guy, like our 2-meter guy, standing on the ground. But he also can be like maybe like standing on the shoulder of this guy. So, and let's say it's like his shoulder. Yeah, let's make it like if his shoulder is like 0.25 below horizon line. So now I take this line, right? I put it above. So now we have 0.25 above. Together is 0.5. Then we have 1 meter, and we have like 2 meter will be here. Okay, so if our guy standing on his shoulder will be like this. And here, so now we have box, so can draw like his face. Так, okay, so I hope it's clear. Write me a question if it's not clear. Так, so soap. Yeah, maybe you don't watch from beginning. I was kind of explaining here how this works. Like, let's make here it was like 1 meter, right? Let's make it like other measurement. Let's make it like if we imagine like average person. I don't know, it sounds kind of very approximate, but why not? So in my world I have some kind of average person, right? And now I draw picture. And it's even like convergent vertical kind of, right? So this eye level horizon line, this y-axis convergent down, then x axis and z axis. And I say, okay, here horizon line above ground, so it's a height of 3 average guys, 3 average humans. Okay, so, and now I say, just kind of follow this logic. Now I say, okay, here is the ground. Okay, and this what happened. Now we have this point and we have horizon line, and we know between ground and eye level 3 average guys height. Okay, so to make it clear for myself, from this point I'm making this line, so I can make scale on it, right? So this line is parallel, it's kind of aligned with y-axis because it's height, right? It's y-axis. So now I have this line. Now because it's 3 height, right? So it means it's like 3 equal lines, right? 3 equal distance. But here, because we have convergence, this 3 equal distance will be changing. So it's like, because closer to horizon line it will be bigger, lower from horizon line it will be like smaller and smaller. So this one kind of this size, this kind of this, and smaller, let's say, right? So, and here we see our guy, average guy. Okay, so here one average guy, and between from top of his head to eye level is his height. Okay, and now we say, okay, he's standing near building which is 4 human height tall, kind of, right? So I can just do it like this, right? I can just again like drop line and say, okay, oh, for composition reason this will be top of my building, this. So, and now remember, building is 4 human height. So this top of a building is a 4 human height. And here where we start to see ratio in the work, right? So this 4th part, it's above eye level. So this is 1 human height. Now I need to create ratio by repeating this same height below horizon line, below eye level. So, and we remember it's like 1 1 1, so 3 human height below horizon line, and we find the ground. Okay, so this is ground of a building. This is where building are connected to ground. So if, okay, let's draw this building. Whoop. Whoop, right? So say like this. So it's building for human height. So you see, I don't use like meters, I use human height. Then let's say I want like one more building like this, right? Same, so I create this scale somewhere here, let's say, right? If I make a ratio on this scale that 3 parts of a scale below eye level and 1 part above eye level, so we have this ratio 1 and 3, right? Then it's our 4 height. Okay, so now it's the same building in a totally random place, but with a proper height in the 3-point perspective. And same if you want like 6 human height, for example, right? So what does it mean? It's mean from 6 you minus 3 height because it's below eye level, right? So it means like you need to make 3 parts above. So say like this. So, and here, yeah, okay, here's another kind of moment, right? If you make it, because we already have this building here, look, these are measurement, these are one part, human height here, this how it goes there, then it goes in perspective to here. Okay, so for this scale, one part above horizon line will look like this long. Then make one more. Okay, so now we have 3 part above eye level. Then here 3 part below eye level. So now you just turn it into box. So like this, so we have overlap. And etc. So we have this building 6 high, this 2 building 4 height, and this guy is a 1 height. Okay, and if I want to draw car, which is like 1.5 height, right? So let's say here this car standing, right? So now we have this line. So 1.5, okay, so it will be like in the middle, because here is 3. If I subdivide in half, it will be our 1.5. So this is height for our vehicle here. So let's see. Like this. Some kind of ice cream truck. Okay, so it should be clear if you just don't watch from beginning. Later you watch record from beginning, and I have like 2 or 3 more video talking about ratio, because I just don't know how to explain it even simpler. Так. Так. Okay, so we talk about 1.3 point, type of drawing, scale ratio. Now boxes. Let's break it a little.
Madness. This is Jane Bond art.
So here is kind of like couple of ways how we can use boxes for drawing people. Так, so one thing is which I always kind of talking about is you know, is this like kind of like a wave and particle in the physics. In perspective, it's XYZ. It's a grid and box at the same time, right? So when you have perspective grid, so it's like I have like a y-axis, I have x-axis, and I have a z-axis, right? So once I have perspective grid, I know like how to draw box in this grid, right? Because box it's also made from these three directions, from width, height, and depth. Same with if I draw box first, let's say it's gonna be like this, right? So once I have box, it's showing me perspective grid. So like here also, here's like this, and like this. So in this like most kind of like common way, like you see everywhere, this like people showing like drawing people in perspective and stuff. We are aligning these constructive points, we're aligning people to perspective grid. But instead of grid, we can align people to box, right? So let's say if I draw box like this, is not to make me draw human here like Scott Robertson drawing vehicles, right? So it's like, oh, like you have a box here like in Scott Robertson, right? And you start to draw in all these sections, cross sections, and like really like measuring all this stuff. No, for human figure drawing, is not like kind of what you should do with a box. In this approach, box kind of help you to have perspective grid in a small area. Okay, so it's kind of like we have individual grid for human figure here within this box, because box itself creates this XYZ space within it. You can expand it like we see Kim Jong-gi do, right? You can expand it, go outside of this box, like create like full picture following same grid as this box. Or not. It's not necessary, because near this box you can draw other box. And you don't need to put them in the same perspective. They can coexist. So in this second box for second figure, right, is kind of like a second perspective grid. And let's say, so it's like be like super visual. So we have like in one kind of picture we have three boxes, like three different perspective grids, and absolutely not necessary to kind of unite them. But and this kind of maybe will blow your mind right now, but yeah, I can make like perspective grid let's say, so this horizon line. Now we have perspective grid for a space. So it's kind of like a perspective fractal principle, right? Like we, no, I mean, we have a perspective. Maybe I make like fisheye perspective for background. And for each figure have its own perspective grid. So here in this grid, you see I draw like, make it as a boxes. So also it's kind of more evident, kind of. We have this guy. In this grid. So, who's this guy? In this grid we have this guy, even like can make like different pose. Kind of like this. So it's like this approach when I was drawing figure align with perspective grid, this same approach. I align these figures with perspective grid inside box. Okay, so and then like, okay, I have a background grid which can be like, you can have grid there, or there is no space, you know, maybe they're like in a void, kind of, they have their kind of individual grids and they're flying in a void. Or you can make perspective for a space, let's say. So let's make like city. So here's like a rooftop. And etc. You see, push like and super like and everything, because nobody will tell you this anywhere else. Так, so and here I draw these lines within box just to make it clear, kind of, right? So when you see like Kim Jong-il make demonstration of drawing people within box, he don't show in these lines, but he have them in line in mind. Okay, so it's box equal perspective grid. Okay, and then you kind of like, you learn to see it, right? So you can, okay, in Drawbox, and without drawing like this, all these invisible lines, you kind of you see them without drawing, okay? Because we see the edges of a box, edges over these 3 dimensions. So let's see. So you can play around with this. So this one, it's let's call it like first type of application of a box for human drawing. This first type, let's call it box equal grid or XYZ. Okay. Second type, how you can use boxes for drawing people in perspective. It's yeah, let's call Crane's cubes, and this about is not about grid, but it can include, no, I mean it's always include grid, because you see it's again it's not mathematics, it's not like advanced something. It's just, sorry, we're like living in a stupid world where just use some basic logic considered advanced. Kind of like, oh no way, I need to think, like, oh, I need to connect, kind of put one thing, second thing, connect together. So like, wow, oh my god, it's so advanced. No, it's not advanced. I just kind of trying to be kind of island of reason here, okay? So yes, just remember kind of like axiom kind of, right? So it's like a box is always have perspective grid in it. It's a property kind of box, right? So every time, okay, we see this XYZ within box, but when we talk about approach, about application like Crane's cubes, here main focus is on idea of rotation, because you see a box also, it's about faces, kind of like, let's say same, I can call it front face, right? So let's say if this like have eyes and smile, kind of, right? So it's a front, then this is right side, this is left side, top, bottom, and rear side, right? So box it's also about this most foundational 3D form principles, how we experience space, right? Because everything we experience have this like front, back, top, bottom kind of sides. And from our life experience, we already have like all knowledge about it. We just, now you need to learn how to apply this knowledge for drawing. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of like a require practice, and this became your skill. It's ability to apply your experience, your knowledge, right? So what knowledge I'm talking about, it's like how we read rotations of objects. So let's say if there is certain object, like some robot head looking in front of you, right? Or this robot head is like slightly rotated vertically, okay? Or it's like halfway rotated. Let's say like this will be look like halfway rotated, right? Or what is genius about Kranz cubes? Now we can also make like double rotation, so it's not only like vertically rotated, because okay, this can be, we can rotate slightly, let's say to the right, right? So now it's robot face rotated a little to the right, and now we can draw it's rotated horizontally and vertically together, okay? So this is kind of like a 3D language which you need to really like learn and learn its principle. So it's not about just be able to draw like 16 cubes kind of, right? So you kind of able to draw straight lines or proper proportions. No, it's about kind of practice application and became fluent with showing these angles. So let's see. So we have, and what is important here, understand, which like most of people who study Kranz cubes, they like not very clearly understand, is that here we have like basically we have only three condition, just three type of situation. One type is like when we look directly into certain face, right? So it can be front directly, it can be side directly, or directly top, right? So what does mean when we see it looking directly, we don't see other surfaces, so it's only one surface. When we see one rotation, like vertical or horizontal, we see two surfaces. Okay, so here we have horizontal rotation, so it's two surfaces revealed. And when we have two rotations together, we have three surfaces revealed. Okay, so it's three type, kind of like three situations we have. And it's like, it's a very, very simple, it's like explode your improvement if you start to practice it, of course. So what it also mean, like I say, it's understand, I kind of repeat it again and again because we need to kind of break through this like veil of lack of clarity, you know, like to really understand what is the point here. So it's not yeah, it's also box, but rotation, it's kind of like beyond box. It's not about lines, it's not about edges. So it means if we have this kind of like random form, right? Let's say, same, say to yourself, like what kind of side do you see? So if it's like a front, so it will be just one kind of side of this form. Or if you see it like top and front, okay, now it means this form kind of like rotated according to viewer. Okay, like no, let's take like a human head, for example, right? It doesn't have sharp edges like a box. Okay, but this what I say, like everybody have life experience, so we can say where is like absolute front, kind of, right? You have this experience, but you not you never converted it in a visual language in a kind of two-dimensional surface. So you know how look front, you know how look top, you know how look side, right? So, and when you draw, you can show us like, okay, I kind of from average front, I kind of also add a little top of a head. So now we see two surfaces. We see some from a top view and we see mostly front view. Or we see is like mostly top view and little front view, you see? And you kind of like say, okay, this is 100% top view, 100% exposure of a top view, 100% exposure of a front view. Let's make it 50-50. Okay, so this is 45 angle rotation if we're looking from side. So it's not about drawing like equal, like they don't look like equally in the length, but from visual experience, you know like how look 100%, and you kind of can eyeball how it will look with a 50%. Same with face, like face is like this front part is longer than top part. Or not here maybe they're similar, but no, let's say like okay, here he's similar, but let's say if like top, some people, you know, have skull like shorter, right? So if like top is shorter, front is longer, so when you draw like 50-50, it will look like kind of like this, right? So it will look like front part is longer, but in reality I show in here is 50 of a front and like half of a front view and half of a top view, kind of half exposure. Same with, imagine like front and side, 100%, 100%, and now it's like 50-50. Okay, and then like, okay, mostly front and a little side, little more side, a little more side. So you learn how to kind of show in position of an object according to viewer. So this is like, it's taken like many years to kind of get it so precisely, this idea, because you see, most problems is a lack of clarity, is not about like, oh, like lack of a skill or some theory. Is all these definitions are very vague. To clarify what exactly is the problem, it's a key, it's a core, right? So for you even without knowing it, you've been always suffer from not knowing this thing. That you should, you know, what is this? What is difference here? Because like you can have some, let's say, objects in a picture, right? And these objects, they can have like relationship between each other, like what kind of angle they related in which angle to each other, right? But have you ever think about like no matter what a relationship of objects have according to each other, there is always relationship to viewer, to camera, It's always like how objects are rotated to camera. So let's show, let's take this guy. So we have like body straight, arm parallel to body kind of, right? Now arm is perpendicular to body, right? Let's say pelvis and torso kind of, we rotate like 45 degree, right? So now we have this kind of, now arm is perpendicular to rib cage, to kind of shoulder area, and 45 degree to pelvis. Okay, so we have, so this pelvis, this rib cage, and arm perpendicular to rib cage, but 45 degree to pelvis. And we have two legs parallel kind of to pelvis, and they will also kind of like 45 degree to arm, right? So all this time, if you draw it all kind of, right, you was always thinking about this stuff. You were thinking about like how things related to each other within world of your drawing. So let's also make this here, but this, so like this, and let's say like this. Okay, so all this kind of orientation, how this like limbs oriented to each other, right? But you see now every part also have its position according to viewer. So what we see this angle of pelvis rotated like twice, right? So it's like little horizontally and vertically rotated. Same arm here is like vertically is like rotated like 50-50, and here also 50-50. So we have like a vertical rotation 45 degree and horizontal rotation 45 degree. Same with the head here, and the rib cage also 45. So if rib cage here is all 45 vertically and horizontally, pelvis here you see is not a zero angle. So if like here I was talking about like pelvis being like a default and the body is 45 angle to pelvis, for us this pelvis look like 45 vertical rotation and about 22 and a half, or maybe less, like about 22 horizontal rotation, because we see this side being exposed little. Okay, so this second approach with the cubes, like kind of like cube language, like what happened, how we using cubes to draw body, right? It's about these angles. So you should just know, like every cube in the first rule, every box, not only cube, like every box, it's a perspective grid. Now we also know, like whatever you draw, it always have parameter of rotation according to viewer. So like my whole hand is like one side, two side, right? Three side, Okay, you see? Always. Now my hand, like one side, right? But I have fingers, right? So my hand, like let's say one side, but this finger is have like two sides, right? So it's rotated. So we see front and bottom of a finger exposed. Same this one, it's like little different angle. But my thumb, we see three surface. We see front, bottom, and the left side of a thumb. So always when you see any form, it's always you will see sides of this form. So even like even if it's some kind of like bubbly form, let's say like this, so I still have like top side, front side, and like rear side or left side here. Same like bottom side, right side, and maybe let's make like eyes here. Same here, it's like whatever form it is, let's say this will be bottom and this will be right. And here is like top and front. Okay, why is important? Because like here we have individual perspective grid for each figure. Hello, Born. Then with this principle, it's even more kind of nuanced. It's like it's more nuanced, and it's more like it's nuanced and intuitive at the same time. Because you see, again, like you can like break it into phases, right? Like trying to make it like geometric, or with this approach you don't need to break it into geometry. You don't need to really draw like edges, measure distance between edges and points. You just kind of have this intention of showing, because here's like you never seen this guy. I just made it, and I establish how much we see, right? And I say it's like we see like half of a front, half of a left side, and half of the top. And just having this in my mind and keep drawing him like in different situations, like he'll go in shopping, kind of like, oh, let's buy some Glock in a store, in a Walmart. Right now I draw him like from other angle. Right, so I can kind of maintain kind of this ratios without kind of like building and bother with geometry too much. But I have like clear idea of angle. Okay, that's why it's kind of genius. And this also approach, it's how we go to like super crazy perspective. It's like quantum physics for artists drawing in perspective, let's say. So, but it still kind of require like very basic thinking, right? So don't imagine like it's something difficult. All this is not difficult. It's just like a juggling, but with many objects. So let's, yeah, okay. So here I was showing this people in perspective, right? These people in perspective, these people in perspective. What they have in common? Write me in the chat. like what is kind of like same repeated again and again for these figures in perspective, these figures in perspective. What is what same parameter kind of they have? And let's break for James Bond.
For you.
Bond. Jim Bond.
Okay, I guess people don't have keyboard or is delay. Okay. Lazy students. Okay. Wait answers in the comments after live. And then I will put all my video for payment wall because you're no answer me. Okay. Skullclord. Okay, Skullclord watching. Thank you. It's not about same scale. So what is same with these figures in all this perspective I was showing, even this one, is that these figures, they're parallel to grid. They're like aligned with the grid. They're like parts of perspective. So you see, we have like I was showing like this symmetrical points, right? They're aligned on x-axis or on z-axis here, right? So because they all have static pose. Okay, so what is unites them is like they have static pose, so it's make it easy to draw them in perspective. We just like kind of attach these symmetrical points to axis, and that's it. It's kind of very easy. They're static poses, even if like let's say like this character. Yeah, okay, let's say this character, so I hope it's clear. So we have like 2 legs straight, 2 hands straight, kind of, right? So here, elbows, shoulders, wrists, knees, feet, nipples, ears, everything is just like symmetrical, so it's easy to draw in perspective. It's just like woo woo. Even if like I make some rotations, but you know, it's still kind of like okay, like this, so whole body is still like simple, symmetrical, but then we have like one hand is like perpendicular. You see, it's still kind of like very basic pose, right? Like this, or leg kind of still very basic pose, because like okay, let's say if I have like 2-point perspective, so we use pelvis, so this leg kind of goes like this, and this leg is like he's make it up like this, right? Whip, whip. So it's just now it's aligned with this z-axis. So it's still kind of like aligned with the grid. Same this hand, it can be like parallel to body, or maybe I make it like this, right? So it's like will be parallel, it will be aligned with the x-axis here. like this, right? So even like if this hand like is 45 degree, so instead of like this, instead of front, it's 45 up. Okay, still it's kind of like, okay, it's a little more complicated, because here is like what we do. We create this square, we draw diagonal line, so we have like 45, we have this 45 angle. Okay, so still kind of like pretty static, or like, I don't know how to say, it's stiff, yeah, stiff pose, right? So with this approach, when you align a body, even if it's like in a box like I was showing before, let's say, like, so we have like its own box, so same here is like, it's for static poses. So they're all kind of like very basic, very stiff. That's why, you know, also we can see some artists, no, I mean, like always actually, like artists have limitations in their style just because technique they use. So if you have only this technique for drawing people in space, you will be always limited to stiff poses, you know. It will be your kind of say, and here let's say this hand. Okay, so, and then look at this. This is like, okay, how about this pose? Put this pose in a box, okay? Or this pose, or let's find some crazy extreme, yeah, oh, this pose, okay? Put this in a box, or like, will you make like vanishing points for every angle, for every limb? Let's see, or this one. So technically it's, you can, but practically, it's like I said before with proportions, it's just, it will be just, you know, like a put trolley in front of a horse, right? So you just don't do this. So, and how you draw this, how, if we look other artists, how they actually draw it, even sometimes they don't know how to explain it. You know what I was watching many times with even with great artists, experienced artists, they sometimes they don't know how to explain, they don't understand like entirely what they're doing, kind of, right? So to draw this kind of pose,
Who are you?
Jim Bond.
we need to use this approach. Okay, so, And maybe here I will draw on a screen. Yeah, hello quets, thank you. Yeah, I mean, like, if you totally don't know how to draw in perspective, yeah, stiff poses already will be cool. But here you see, if we want to draw stuff like this, right? So how it works. So to draw stuff like this, actual like practical approach to draw stuff in perspective like this, it's what I was talked before. We have here like proportions, like a gesture, you know, all these things, right? So let's say just like in our picture, like where is the figure, right? So it's like here, like where is some kind of like negative shapes, this stuff. So it's 2D shape. Maybe it's like whatever, right? So here we have you can break it down. It's like a gesture, like some interesting shapes, interesting curves, right? Or it's telling you, it's just like where is the figure located, or what kind of like dynamic you want to maintain in your drawing, right? And what kind of like how, like, what size of each element and stuff like this. So, and once you know it, like in your picture, let's say, let's say like this. Then you can look for position of each part, like in an angle within kind of this space in which it exists. Так, so we here need to properly draw. So let's say in a photograph, so let's say like rib cage here, go like this, then pelvis. It's hard to see where it's, let's say kind of this pelvis. His feet actually is kind of like this. Here, change color. So here is a good example. And then even like for each finger you can show. And like here. For example. Так. So let's, here is a good example with the hand. So we have this shape. Let's say. But you can draw form, go like this. So it's still kind of like same shape. But within this shape, it's so many options, like which direction form goes. So like this, for example, or like this. So even here is like, oh, I need to draw one more example too. So let's say it can go this way. Or it can go even this way. Isn't crazy? And now it's like we see here, it's like bottom of palm here. So you see, because again, like I say, like if we have like side of arm, so it's like left side, then I show this like left side, and some top and front, or I show say left side, and some front and bottom. So here what I draw is I draw in this surfaces, right? So we kind of like should work clearly in our head, like which side stands for what. So this like left side of the head, front side, top side, let's say. And it will work even if you make mistake, because in your world still it will be like consistent in the world of your drawing, because like no matter what reference you do, so even if like you work with reference and you misinterpret direction, right? Like you see even here, like we have variations, so you can like misread and it will be like huge mistake, right? But still you can make it look convincing and it will work. It will look like three-dimensional properly drawn arm. And if people didn't see like original reference, they will feel like, oh, looks cool, looks nice. So так, so back. Okay. Hello, Heber. Yeah, welcome. Thank you for feedback. So, and then you see, right, like you have this case, like we see in many manga artists, anime, like this Sakuga and whatever, like you want to draw like action pose, right? And you see like how people drawing like with shapes. So you have like this body here, maybe like this, right? So yeah, and like many of artists, you can just go from this shape language directly to line art, but if you want to develop like better understanding of a form, like being more precise with form, you can make this also step of defining kind of like which planes kind of you expose of each part. For example, like this, like head, right? We can already, it can be front, so it's just like one surface. It can be two surface, front and top, or three surface. You can show this direction. Let's say you can show his head like this, right? Or you can show his head like this, and you can show like more of like more side view, less front view, or you can show more like top view like this with the same figure here. So it make you feel like you are really have a doll in your hands, you know. So this what this box logic, this understanding of rotation give you this feeling of like a mannequin in your hands. So same here, it's like kind of like pretty Vogue, right? What happened here with the leg. We can of course also draw transparent where is the pelvis and say, okay, I show like over this upper part of a leg. You see, I show only two sides. and then like lower part of a leg will be like 3 sides, and then I here will draw. Same here. Within same shape, still I have this upper kind of like choice, show 2 sides like this, and then let's say 3 side for lower part, and for feet also it can be 2 sides or 3 side. So it's like totally different situation. Seems like slight change, right? But it's totally different situation. Or here I can make it like 3 side of a upper leg in this way. See, so it's like change actually a lot. It's a very big difference. So, and now I can show this little more like this. Same, this shape here is like going away, like two surface visible. Okay, let's try. So here will be like 3 surfaces, or let's see, like this. And same here, we have like this let's make like this. So it's a brick kind of for a fist, but we can make it like a wrist and draw fingers. So and these fingers will be like also like these boxes. So, and you see I don't have any grid for this. So, or so maybe some kind of mechanical arm. Or let's take this pose from reference. Так. So kind of like start with this like gesture, so just kind of like know which way movement goes, where is like just where is the different parts. So let's say So all I draw is like what I should control, right? What parameters I'm following is one plane, two plane, or three plane. That's it. And to which degree? Like to which degree is like what is ratio between like one side and other side? What's the ratio between these three sides? That's it. So it makes so much easier kind of when you have clear parameters to track. So let's say so there's pelvis, leg have two. So just this moment when you see what is the use of boxes, like when you've been drawing all these boxes. So let's say like this. Make change here. Here I kind of like break his neck. here we can see. Так, okay. See, kind of this. Так. Or let's say another kind of situation. Let's see. Still my brain already stopped. 3R. So take just like whatever crazy pose which is not like symmetrical and like every body parts are not kind of like aligned to one grid. So they might have some same axis, but in general is like drawing boxes in an intuitive perspective. Say like this. So, and what is a kind of trick here Yeah, hello, Gmail there. What trick also with this stuff is like I was showing with the first type of boxes approach, right? Like when we have boxes for each figure, like individual perspective grid, we can have like absolutely independent from them perspective for background, and it's all will look like you can make it look fine, and it's very easy to control. Yes, of course, still kind of you might need some practice to align if you kind of make like super extreme background perspective, but your character is like neutral pose. You should kind of follow this, don't make like extreme mistakes. But like in this example, it doesn't is not so evident. Like you will not see any issues with this. It just look like we have three characters in different angle. So, but here you see is like, yes, we have like dynamic placement for them in a space, but each of pose is kind of stiff, so it's convenient to use this perspective grid method for them. Then here we have like kind of crazy wild kind of pose, and for this pose we using boxes for every part, and same like in this approach we can have whatever perspective grid for background here. It's so you can choose any box from his body and extend this box to create background perspective grid. Let's say like here, right? So it's like, let's say if I take this upper leg and extend it into perspective grid. Okay, so now I will have like one part of his body align with the grid, and I say this, let's say horizon line, then y-axis can make like convergence, so it's like 3-point perspective grid, and then we have z axis go in this direction. So yeah, it's kind of like this grid is not aligned with many parts of his body, but it's aligned with this for sure. Okay, or you can use like foot. So let's say, so if here this kind of we take foot, and I start to kind of looking for z axis, so maybe like, okay, so maybe here it's like z vanishing point, so these are z axis here, then maybe x axis, now I will do like curved, and y-axis goes this way. So, and here I just like choose, okay, I say this horizon line. No, not even, no, I want to make like a wild example. It's no, there is no, here no horizon line. So this is our y vanishing point nadir. So it's like 5-point perspective, down shot. So camera looking down, and maybe let's make like, no, okay. Yeah, let's try make like super crazy. So this will be z vanishing point, and this x vanishing point. Let's experiment So here have grid. So, and what happened is like he's like falling down here, and we see like a street from above. So this some kind of rooftop. Так. Here we have this buildings. Some zebra. Так. So you see, crazy, fancy scene, and only way kind of you will able to kind of like draw this kind of dynamic scene is to have in mind these techniques. So, and we see like when you find like some anime artist or manga artist draw like you know, like One Punch Man or I don't know how it's called, Naruto. They use on these principles. They just don't draw boxes, but they always considering these angles. So, whatever, let's say. things here look funny. Anyway, so it's just like you see, as kind of like practice for for your perspective IQ. Try to draw experiment with variables, kind of like, because this y vanishing point can be z vanishing point, and then this in this case will be horizon line, so this kind of leg will standing on the ground. But just for example, to show that it can be like absolutely random perspective grid, I make this kind of situation. So you can try yourself, just draw figure with the boxes and then put a random perspective grid next to this figure. Kind of this. Okay. So that's it for today. See you next stream. Write me comments, like if need to repeat certain points, like more clarify, but make sure you watch video from beginning before ask me question. And also, you know, don't be lazy. Sometimes like you like search my previous videos, previous lives, they have like drawing people in background together, this kind of stuff. And you don't need like watch entire video like on a normal speed, right? You can make speed faster, you can like jump around to find like important points for you, you know, because I understand it's like nobody have 1000 hours to watch every video. Nice. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so, and also, of course, have in mind that you will be better with drawing crazy figures in perspective like this if you have like better like anatomy knowledge, or this kind of drawing clothes knowledge, kind of how to draw clothes, or just like you've been drawing a lot figures before, so you just have better visual library, kind of, right? So that's it. Yeah, thank you, quits. See you next time.
Gene Bond.